A Jose Canseco bat? Tell me you didn't pay money for this. Here's your look at the new NECA toys. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie Casey Jones and Raphael. Now you can catch America's favorite green teens in their first live-action blockbuster film. After waiting in a puddle of radioactive waste, these radical reptiles are transformed into New York City's greatest crime-fighting quartet. Raphael's a skilled, sai-wielding ninja. Beware, when he gets angry, you don't want to be around. Casey Jones, the masked vigilante, carries a golf bag on his back filled with clubs, bats, and sticks. Makeshift weapons in his war against crime. These highly detailed figures feature an assortment of movie-accurate accessories with over 30 points of articulation for maximum posing power. Before we get a closer look at both Raphael and Casey Jones from the 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, still beloved by many, the first thing we're going to do is figure out how tall these figures actually stand. And while I am calculating the measurements for you, the viewing audience, I'd like to also send out a big thank you to the folks over at NECA who sent these my way. You should be able to find these now through various online sites and retail stores. I know there's some difficulty right now trying to track these down, but be patient. You will find them. NECA will continue to want to circulate these around. Raphael stands at 6.3 inches in height. Switching that to centimeters, you're looking at the figure being 16.1 centimeters tall. Switching that now back to inches, there we go. We're going to take it to the very top of Casey Jones's head. Casey Jones's head? That doesn't sound right. Nonetheless, though, we're going to take it right to the very top of his head. Obviously, he's going to be a lot taller than Raph. Just by how much? Let's figure that out. Stopping the tape measure again, you're looking at Casey Jones standing 7.1 inches in height. Switching that then to centimeters yet again, you're looking at the figure being 18.2, almost 18.5 centimeters tall. Figured for the time being we would look at Raphael and his assigned accessories. Casey Jones have just moved off for the time being. I'm sure he's fighting some purse-snatching pukes in the park somewhere. But we've now left a big open area where Casey Jones once stood. When we fill that void by bringing in one of the other Raphael figures that NECA had released before. This was the standalone Raph, which all the 4 Turtle movie figures were exclusive at one point to, I believe, GameStop. Since then, there's been the announcement that NECA is going to be releasing the Turtle Brothers in 2-packs. So if you didn't get a chance to get these guys the first go-around, don't be going to places like eBay paying the prices that scalpers are charging. And simply just, again, wait it out. NECA Toys will always be stocking these sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, I just wanted to bring this one in as they are carbon copy figures. I'm sure to the naked eye you could probably, see that Raphael is sporting the trench coat to the right. He is a different looking turtle until we take that trench coat off. You'll see that they are the exact same underneath. But in the meantime, let's look at the accessories that come included with Raph. There are some things that carry over from the original Raphael that we had looked at before, starting first with the pizza slice. Now, the pizza slice, based on the scene in which Raphael's sporting this trench coat, I don't believe he's actually even eating pizza at all. I think he's emerging from a movie, so it doesn't really make sense that they would have included a pizza slice. But if you can get a reuse of a mold, we'll just move this one over for the time being and bring in the one that came included with the original Raphael. They appear to be the exact same. I mean, you can always use these slices for something else, so it's nice to see that at least we get another one of these. I mean, it doesn't take up a lot of space in the clamshell packaging anyways. You can see that they are identical to one another. Maybe you could say the paint's slightly different on this one, but there's not really much that's been changed on the mold. It looks like black olives, which is already a turnoff for me for wanting to even consume a slice of pizza looking like this. And it seems like there's possibly anchovies, which would be a big no-no for Michelangelo. Other than that, again, like I said, there's nothing really different between the two. Other than just a few little changes, maybe a little bit more browning of the cheese on this side, they are exactly the same slices to one another. We'll put those down for the time being. Raphael also comes included with not one, but a pair of sai. Don't make the mistake of calling them sais. Pluralizing sai is still sai, and he does get 2 of them, a full working pair. Bringing in the one that came included with the standalone Raph, they are pretty much identical to one another. You could say the coloring has been slightly changed to the handle and prongs of the one that came included with the trench coat wearing Raphael, as you can see. This one is a slightly more darker coloring of brown versus the chestnut brown that came included with the original Raph. It also seems like they've added a little bit of like metallic silver, perhaps also to those prongs as well, just to add some a little extra detail. They look a little bit more worn, if you will. But other than that, I mean, they're exactly the same. This Raphael did come with two. I'm just using one for the time being for comparisons. You can take this side, by the way, and you can grab the figure, just move his trench coat out of the way, and like he does in the film, sort of revealing what he's got holstered. You can slide the side down and still very conveniently hide it underneath his trench coat. A lot of times while you're doing this, you may want to be prone just to tightening up his belt, because a lot of times the belt does loosen while you are doing this, but he does still fit perfectly fine, both side, 1 and 2, in the open holstered located on the front of his belt. It's a nice touch to include that. Raphael also comes included. Let's just put the figure down here for a second. He comes with a very bogey style fedora hat. It's all done in a softer rubber, and you can see a real nice job done. They've painted the belt area. Not really sure what you would call this on a hat. Would that be still the belt of the hat? I'm sure it has some more technical term. Those hat makers out there could probably tell me. The rim of the hat is still done the same chocolate brown color as the band. We'll just call it the strip of fabric here on the front. You'll also see that there's a hole located on the back of the fedora. What purpose does that serve? Let's have a look at that right now. You can see that it actually goes all the way in. It doesn't just fit around the outside. What you can actually do is you can take the fedora and you just fit it. Just tuck it over. Basically, that hole just fits over top of the knot, and then from there you just slide it down. Just kind of gives you a little bit of extra clearance. Sometimes while you are doing it, the hat does prone to fall off. I thought perhaps it was a case where you would remove the knot, and I guess you could. You could take it completely off the head, for example, and then fit the hat down, and then from there feed the knot back through that hole. But that doesn't really work, and nor I think is that the intended plan. I think they just gave that hole there so it would have something to fit over, and perhaps that little knot that's been tied on the back sort of just aids and keeps the hat in place. I don't think the plan at all was to actually take the back of the bandana off and fit it through the back, because it would stick out, and that's not the case at all. That's not the way it looks in the movie. So again, it just sort of is an aid. It just, like I said, it gives you a little extra clearance so the hat fits a little bit more tighter against his head, like so. The other things he comes included with, we'll just put the figure down. I keep putting him down. We'll go back to him. I promise we'll go back to him. He comes also with a series of interchangeable hands. He comes with 4, and he comes with 2 already in his sockets. Simple math would tell you that that's 6 hands. The hands vary from ones suited for holding, like the sai, for example. These ones right here. You can take the sai, feed it in between his hands like so, and he sort of just kind of holds it the same way he does in the film, just bracing the side just around the prong area. You can have him holding it like this, which is a nice effect. Or he comes also with the high 5s, or in the case of the turtles, a high 3. Comes with a pair of high 5 hands. These are all basically things that we've seen before with all the movie turtles. Spending a little bit of time, not a whole lot of time, but a little bit of time talking about the details done to the hands. I mean, look at the airbrushing that they've added. Not only is the texturing done nicely to the plastic, but the airbrushing of that additional rusted brown and the fingernail colors just add the overall realism of these hands. I always really like them. I know we so quickly dismiss extra hands. I mean, hey, he comes with a pair of extra hands, and he sort of just, not literally, but figuratively toss them to the side. But I mean, again, there's just as much detail to these as there is to the rest of the figure. And that's pretty much all of Raph's accessories, short of a few extra bandana ties, which allow him to actually drape it on either side of his head. I'll talk about those more so when we get this guy looked at. For the time being, I'm just going to move Raphael out of the way. He will be making reappearances, and we'll just have a look at a trench coat here wearing Raph. Now again, you have him wearing the hat. You can take the hat off quite easily, and that's his head sculpt here. Actually, you know what? We'll bring in Raphael again so you guys can see. Looking at the two figures, there doesn't seem much changes to them. I think there was variations to these head sculpts where the facial expressions were slightly different. Although the case here of looking at the standalone Raph to the one packaged with Casey Jones, they do seem like they are identical. I keep looking at them thinking I could spot a difference, but I don't really think there is one. Possibly the mouth could be slightly a little bit more open, but I think it's just more so my eyes playing tricks on me than anything else. He does have the knapsack or backpack located on his back. It's colored the same way as it was in the film, sort of a military green. It's asking certainly a lot of these straps fitted around his very large frame. You'd be surprised how easy it is to remove this backpack. I'll talk about that also in a second. The trench coat is a nice coloring. Of course, they're using a fabric rather than simply molding. I mean, the cost of producing that would be so more difficult and more expensive, certainly for NECA to cast a figure with a mold that had the jacket attached to it. Not only that, I mean, it's a lot easier to move things on the figure when you simply just put a jacket over top of it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So using a real fabric jacket literally over an existing figure makes perfect sense. You got the buttons running down the front, you've got pockets here on the side, and these are actually real working pockets. One thing that you could do is you could take the hand off the socket, just removing it, freeing it from its socket prison. Where is he going with this? What you can actually do, which is kind of fun, you can take the hand off and you can feed the wrist. I've done this in the opener of this review. I don't even know if I'm going to display the figures like this, but you sort of can take the jacket pocket. It's not always the easiest, but you can sort of help with the side perhaps, just feed those through. But you can actually take the sleeves. I know that's not really what they had intended to do with these, but you can actually take the little pocket area and you can navigate it around the wrist. It's a lot easier when I did this before filming, but again, the idea is you can just feed those hands through. You can actually make it look like he's got his hands in his pockets. That's the point I was trying to make. Remove the hand from this side. We'll try our luck on this side instead. Again, the holes aren't big, and you really wouldn't be able to pull this off by putting the hands still in the sockets because the hands would be way too big. But again, you just sort of feed the hands through. And it actually can look like he's got his hands in his pockets. I did this at the beginning of the review. It's not working as well as I had hoped right now. But again, you get the idea. So you can take those hands off, feed him through his pockets. You can also go ahead and undress this guy completely altogether. And I guess it was probably good that I already had the hands removed from the sockets anyways. You can remove this jacket in its entirety. For that, you obviously will want to be addressing the backpack first. The easiest way to remove the backpack is just by bringing the arms forward like so. Bring the backpack up like this, almost like he's shielding his head from the rain. And then you're basically just going to feed this down the arms. Just feed this down on either side. Just on one side like so. There we go. And then on the other side. That's it. Easy peasy. It couldn't be any bit easier than that. You'll see that it's hollow on the inside. I mean, really, to be fair, it didn't need to be sculpted on the inside anyways. This would be the part that would be against the turtle's back anyway, so you really wouldn't be able to see it. And then from there, we can just undo the trench coat. I could have just left this on, but I wanted to show you guys what the figure looks like with it removed. Just feed the strap through, literally like you were undoing a larger trench coat, if you have a trench coat that looks like this. And then from there, you just feed this off, pull it off from his back, like so, and then just sort of feed it off, feed it down his arms. Now these might be a little bit more trickier. You can sort of pull the sleeves on both sides until the biggest thing is just trying to get it over top of his head. There we go. And just keep continuing to feed it like so. Eventually, when the jacket frees itself, moving it on both sides, there we go. On the other side, there we go. And there we go. You just remove it completely. Congratulations, you just removed a Ninja Turtles trench coat. And that's what Raphael looks like. Probably should have left the sigh out when I did all of that. But again, let's go ahead and put the hands back into place. Grab the other hand. Pop that into the socket. Pop this one also into the socket. There we go. And then, again, to bring in the Raph that we had gotten before. Just to show you, there's nothing really that has changed between the two figures. Any bit of the argument that you could probably make is just simply the fact that the front turtle shell, has been a little bit more colored, detailed on the standalone release, but they didn't do as much here on the one that's covered by the trench coat. The intended plan, obviously, is you're probably going to be wearing this Raph with his, of course, his trench coat. So it probably doesn't make much sense why they would need to add all the additional paint that they did on this version. The head sculpts are the exact same. The arms are exactly the same. The legs are exactly the same. There's nothing different between the two of them. One fun thing that you can also do, we'll just put the Raphs on either side, you can also take one of the cartoon turtles. A little bit smaller in size, yes, I understand that. But what you can actually do with these, which is kind of fun, you can take the trench coat, remove the hands. Where's he going with this? You can remove the hands from the cartoon turtle. Just a little easier to get the hands, the arms through. You probably already see where I'm going with this. And you can take the trench coat from the movie Raph, and you can actually fit that over top of, just bring the arms back a little bit. You can actually put that on a cartoon Raph. Now granted, yes, it's going to be a little bit bigger. It's not quite going to be completely fitting his frame, but then you can also take his hat. You can put the hat over top of Raph. Now, I mean, certainly as a sell-on down the road, if they wanted to add these, they could either just simply re-release the cartoon turtles with the additional jackets over top of them, or heck, they could just release an accessory set, releasing just these trench coats, because I would actually be interested in the idea of picking up more of these, as they certainly have released more cartoon turtles in various different color schemes. I would like the idea really of being able to display some of them with their concealed jackets on, and you can again still get the belt loop through and feed that through and all that stuff. Again, it's just a kind of a nice fun idea. Taking the already existing movie turtle Raph that came included with the trench coat, and then being able to dress up your cartoon turtles. It's kind of fun, even though I'm sure that's not what their intended plan was. Now that we got Raph undressed, we can actually go back. Remember the little bandana knot that we talked about before? Just wiggle this off, pop that off. And as I said, he does come with two versions of the other bandana. But basically what it is, it just allows the bandana to drape on either side of him. So if you put it on this side, for example, just feed that into the hole. You can have the bandana on this side, or if you wanted to, you can have it on the opposite side by simply just using this one. And again, it's a nice touch just to include it. The other Raph already had this. This is nothing new. They didn't reinvent the wheel by including it. But it's just nice, again, that they would include these with the turtle, even if that's not what your intended plan to use it for. And then again, you can go ahead and take the sai, grab the ones that we had pulled from before, and those just fit into those open hold areas. Basically, all the stuff I'm just talking about now is all the things that we discussed when we first looked at the movie Turtles. But needless to say, I just wanted to show you what it looks like with the size intact. Nothing has been changed to this figure other than just the trench coat that we looked at before. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the details, but certainly want to still mention, reiterate the amount of care and paint that NECA puts into those pieces. I mean, like, look at that. That looks exactly the way it did in the film. With the recessed areas of his bandana, you can see his eyes sunken in there. Just such a great looking job. Articulation on this guy is exactly the same as the one that we had looked at before. His head rotates all the way around. It hinges up, it hinges down. He does also have arm articulation. Doesn't quite give you a full clearance of a 90-degree bend, but it does allow you for at least around a 45-degree angle bend. We'll just move those sai again. The arms rotate all the way around as well. Rotates back and forth. He has a double hinge on the elbow, which is sort of concealed by the fact that he's got the elbow pad covering over top of that. He does also have articulation underneath the shell, sort of the way that real turtles, I guess in a way, have articulation underneath the shell. The legs do split out, a little tighter on this figure than the one I have already in my collection. Forward and back on the legs, double hinge on the knee, and then he has also articulation in the foot. Hinges up, hinges down, hinges right, hinges left. And that's basically Raphael. All the articulation I had already discussed, of course, only is true to the figure that's underneath that. Mileage may vary for how much bending you can actually do to the figure due to the constraints of having the trench coat over top of his body. But really, because of the material that they used for his body, it's still pretty soft, so you can still move his arms. His legs aren't hindered at all. You can still move his head, and you can still bend his elbows perfectly fine. Now let's have a look at Casey Jones. For this, I decided to put the trench coat back onto Raphael's body, simply because that's the first time he encounters Casey in the film. The only thing I did leave off for Raphael is his backpack, so I could show you how easy it was to put it back onto his body. We'll go ahead and do that right now. Take the arms and just bring them forward. When you take the backpack, you want to make sure that you're putting it upside down, because you're basically going to be flipping it around. Kids in preschool learn this is how you put your jacket on. In fact, my daughter was showing me how she puts her jacket on, doing the exact same thing. But all you're going to do is feed the arms through, just like that. Feed it up the arms. And then when you get past the elbows, this is the same thing reversed when you decide to take this back off. When you get past the elbows, just bring the arms back up. From there, you have enough clearance that you quite easily slide that over his body. I didn't seem to do that as easy when I was first removing it, but it really is quite easy to take the backpack off. There's no fuss, there's no muss. And like I said, it just fits that over the collar of the trench coat, and you're good to go. There you go. Short of just putting the fedora on top of his head, Raphael's ready to go. There we go. Put him just right over there. So let's have a look at the accessories that come included with Casey Jones. He comes with, of course, a lot of weapons, which makes perfect sense for the amount of weapons he wields in the film. And all of them, for the most part, go inside the golf bag. The golf bag does have a rubberized strap to it that's going to fit over top of his frame. I'll show you that in a second. As you can see, it doesn't have the largest of openings, but there's really a reasoning for that. Anybody that's seen the film really knows all the accessories he comes included with don't really intend to go in there in the first place. There's only a handful of them. Let's have a look at those right now. So it comes included with the Jose Canseco bats ×2. The bats themselves are all done in brown with two tapings, two rings of tape on each of the bats, as you can see there. I don't know why the camera's not. There we go. Nice and focused. You can see the nice texturing done to each of the tape on two places of the bat. I even like the fact, for the detail put to it, the fact that you can even see how the tape overlapped itself as it made a couple of passes around the bat itself. The bats are generally quite small, but again, really nicely detailed. You get, again, two of these that you can either wield one in Raph's hand, as he, of course, is talking trash to Casey, or you can have Casey Jones wielding both of these. Now, these do fit into the golf bag, and already you can see there doesn't leave much clearance after the fact, but if you kind of look at the accessories and examine where they appear in the film, he doesn't fit everything in the golf bag. For example, the next accessory we'll look at is his hockey stick. The hockey stick has the same level of taping done to it that the bats did have. As you can see, there is, I think it says Sarder, which I'm sure is just a play on the name used for the stick in the film. They probably didn't use the actual name for that stick, but as you can see, it's got some nice taping done on the end, on the center section here, and then wrapped around the bottom of the stick. I remember when I was going to a friend's house one day back in public school, he had just got a brand new hockey stick, literally just got it, and he asked if I wanted to play with it. Well, I whacked it really hard, so much so that I broke the end right off. He probably had to do the exact same thing to his stick that NECA has done to this stick. You can see how the overlapped tape really does look like tape. Nice job done there. Now you can either put this into Casey's hand, or again you can slide this and add it to the collection happening right now in his golf bag. Now looking at that, there's no way it's going to fit the rest of these. Well, we'll look at his cricket bat. You got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. That's also been taped as well. I like the wood grain that they've added to the surface. Of course, it does have it kind of looks like an oar when you really look at like a cricket bat. Slightly curved on the bottom, flat along the top. And again, something that you can have Casey Jones wielding. Really nice on the detail on both sides. And then that fits also into his bag. Now you can fit it either this way. That might be too close for comfort. I mean, it does fit in there, but it's really tight quarters. You might just want to put it in like that. And that's enough. I mean, short of these falling out, but it's, like I said, pretty close quarters. That's really all the accessories you need when he's actually wearing this when he first encounters Raphael. All the other things that we look at, like, for example, the goalie stick, he's not even wearing this bag at that time. This is when he's inside April O'Neil's apartment fighting the Foot and trying to save his friend who he met and encountered earlier. The hockey stick, he's not even, again, wearing this, so it doesn't have to fit inside. It's been also nicely painted with the wood grain added to it, conveniently placing the tape over top of the wording of the stick so they can kind of conceal what exactly the stick's name is. As you can see, it's nice stain work that they've added to it, and even discoloration to the tape also goes a long way too, just to make it look like it's an old looking stick. The last accessory comes included with, again, not something that has to even belong in here because it's not part of that part in the movie, he does also come included with the golf club. Now this is when he's fighting Tatsu, and he goes for and knocks down Tatsu with a fiery blow from the golf club. The golf club is a little on the thin side. I mean, there's not really anything that they could do around that because obviously the nature of how thin a golf club is. They had to use, of course, the amount of plastic required to produce that. You can see there's the front section of the club. You can see also some additional silver that they've added to the end of it. Again, it's a really nice detailed piece. I like that they really covered all the bases when it came to the things that he has in the film, short of the garbage truck at the end of the film. But that would be an expensive set to incorporate a full-sized garbage truck. Maybe something down the road. Casey Jones also comes in included with a whole bunch of interchangeable hands. Get a gander at all of these hands that he comes with. He comes with fists. I know those aren't the most exciting of things for him to be fitted onto his forearms. You can see he does have a pair of closed fists. Nothing really overly exciting, as you can see, though. He does wear fingerless gloves. Everybody was wearing fingerless gloves. That's a quote from Lonely Island. But as you can see, really nicely detailed, down to the fact that they even sculpted the actual fabric. Really, really nice there. He does also come with a couple of things for, obviously, like for holding the golf club, he has a specifically designed hand for that. The golf club hand, you got to be careful, though, fitting in place that you don't feel the need to press down on this, because that most likely would break as a result of it. But he does come with a hand suited for holding the golf club. Just want to be careful when you fit that into his hand. He does come with, of course, a couple of other, like these are good for like the bat-wielding hands, for example. These ones right here are just the right diameter to hold the Jose Canseco bats. And last but certainly not least, he also comes included with a pointing hand. So really nice. I like the fact that they include that as well. The other things that I did include for this figure at the opener of this review, he does also come with a flat hand, for example, and he comes with another gripping hand. For the opener, I used those hands for holding the hockey stick. You can take the hand for the hockey stick, feed and navigate the handle through, just on the one side here. There we go. And then once it's far enough in that you feel, then you can go ahead and put it right through between those fingers and the thumb. Now you can also do that with the goalie stick, which I'm actually even kind of leaning closer towards the idea of him being displayed with, just simply because it's a lot bigger than the hockey stick. But I like the fact that they would include a hand that allows you to do that. All that being said, I know we've spent a lot of time talking about accessories, talking about Raphael. I mean, obviously the star of this show would, I feel, be Casey Jones, simply just because we have not gotten this figure before, and it's always sort of been one of those wish list characters that we always wanted to see. Judith Hogue, April O'Neil, for example, and Elias Koteas, I think it's Koteas, who played, of course, Casey Jones. He was in one of my all-time favorite Christmas movies called One Magic Christmas, but I digress. The fact that we always wanted to get ourselves a movie Casey Jones, and now finally it's happening. I'm so pleased to see it. Now, there are people that have removed this mask. This does involve a lot of surgical work, removing it from the straps on both sides, along the top there as well. It has caused some damage, but I guess in a way it does allow you to remove the mask. Underneath there is a portrait. I haven't considered the idea of doing it simply just because I was worried I was going to cause damage and break or crack the mask in some way. Apparently, Elias, though, wasn't so keen on the idea of giving his licensing, or from what I've heard, but has since. I think the idea of giving up his licensing has now been available, so maybe we may down the road see ourselves an unmasked version of Casey Jones. I think that would be really a perfect time to release an unmasked Casey Jones along with April O'Neil. That would be a great opportunity to kind of put April O'Neil in, as opposed to selling her just as a straight-out singular release. But the mask is decently presented here. The slots in the opening of the mask allowing him to, of course, breathe. You can still see his eyes perfectly fine. Slightly have shaded those eye areas as well, so it looks even a little more recessed than what it actually is. Sculpting his hair is decent as well. You can see there it is right there. Some additional lighter browns, mixing it up with some darker browns and dark blacks that they've used for his hair. Even like the straps are done nicely as well. For his outfit, he has a vest. The vest almost seems like it could be something that could remove. I gotta believe that there is probably glue working behind the scenes. This would just be, I feel, a lot of work and possibly causing damage to the vest. But it does seem like something that could potentially be removed. Some discoloration done to his white shirt. You can see there's some chest hair happening there as well. And they also sculpted, though not painted, some hair also on his arms as well. He does have his track pants all the way down to a pair of socks. One thing I would say is I wish that the peg that they used to attach the foot area to the rest of his leg, if they had instead not painted it but used just a white peg, I think the durability of the plastic would have been the same. But using a white peg, you would have hidden the idea of when you move those feet up and down. don't see then a gray peg kind of connecting the foot to the rest of his leg. But overall, sculpting is pretty good. The idea that somebody would have to figure out in the back of their mind, what does a track pant look like, at least for a texturing, I think they've nailed it. Pretty close likeness to that. You have the natural wrinkles forming on the pants, the way that wrinkles would drape on pants, as you know, he is just sort of standing as he is. I do have some difficulty getting this one foot to pivot. I guess it sort of angles a bit on the one side. I would probably want to maybe might heat this up a little bit so I can bring the foot a little bit more inward. This foot is perfectly flat and no issues there, but I do notice like on this foot, it angles up a little bit. I'm going to see if I can try to fix that. Articulation on Casey Jones, his head rotates all the way around. It hinges down, it hinges up. Obviously, you're not going to be able to hinge it down and up as much as you would want, simply because his hair is so long, but you could still move it down pretty good overall. The arms give you, unlike Raph, a full 90-degree bend out, like that. You can rotate the arms also all the way around. He does not have just one bend in the elbow, he actually has two. And of course, there's no real way to hide this. There's nothing that you could lay over top of this, like a shirt sleeve, or in Raph's case, he does have the elbow pads. Because he just has bare arms, unfortunately there's no way around hiding those joints. But he does have still a double hinge on the elbow. I mean, I'd be completely open to the idea of getting a hinge on the elbow rather than trying to hide and try to keep the mold the same. I mean, obviously they could have, they could have just kept this as one piece and not even had any elbow articulation. But if given the choice, I would prefer my figures to have posability, at least on arms. Arms are things I feel you can have visible joints, not so much the issue there. Hands rotate all the way around. You can hinge them back and forth, whatever hands you decide to use. He does have an upper torso articulated bend, more or less being a ball joint. He does split on the legs. The legs are a little on the tight side on this one side. I have to really fight against them to the point where I don't want to push it too much, but you can get a bend on the legs. About to that point. Forward and back on the legs. You can bend at the knee. You can also rotate the lower leg like you can with pretty much all NECA figures that have a bend in the knee working this way. And then for his foot articulation, his feet move up and down. You can also slightly rock them back and forth, and you can rotate them. I don't feel like the ankle pivot is as loose on these legs or on these feet. So again, getting that foot to be completely flat still seems to be a bit of an issue for me. At the end of the day, though, I'm still thrilled with the fact that we did get ourselves a Casey Jones. Casey Jones, I feel, could have worked perfectly fine on his own as a singular standalone release. But if NECA, being the kings when it comes to reusing their molds, I mean, if they gave the opportunity to give us a Casey Jones, why not then throw in a Raphael? I mean, it's the exact same Raphael that we had gotten before. True, yes, that is the case. But by covering him over top with that trench coat and giving him the fedora hat and backpack, you've instantly now got a screen-captured moment where Raphael first encounters Casey Jones. And I like the fact that he would take the time to include a Raphael, even though we have already that figure in our collection. One last thing I wanted to talk about just before we head on over to final looks of these two figures. I want to show you guys one last close-up look at how the hat works. Just in case there was some confusion that you actually had to remove the back of the bandana and feed it through the hole. No, that wasn't the intended plan of the way that they designed the hat. So again, basically all it does, see just the back of the knot there, it fits right through that hole. Just gives you a little bit of extra stability. You push it down on the head, and then when you feed it, push it down on the back of the knot just pops straight through. That may not have been even the case in the film, but it's the way that NECA did incorporate that on the hat at least. So again, adds a little bit of stability, and you don't have to fight then around the knot, the back of the bandana on Raph here. The original 1990s TMNT film, I feel, was like capturing lightning in a bottle. The problem when you do capture lightning in a bottle, though, it's next to impossible to recreate that. And though seeing the success of the first film, studios were quick to pen and release a sequel, its follow-up, Secret of the Ooze, which I enjoy Secret of the Ooze, but I don't like it as much as the first film. It loses a little of the magic, it's diluted, and it clearly gears towards more younger viewers, which I get that. Studios obviously saw probably that the first one was a little too dark for younger viewers, and wanted to make Secret of the Ooze a little bit more light-hearted. Unfortunately, Secret of the Ooze also lost Judith Hoag. She didn't come back to reprise her role of April O'Neil, and instead we got an April O'Neil, yes, that did see both appearances in Part 2 and Part 3, but I never really got on board that April as much as I did Judith Hoag. I would have loved to see her come back for the sequel. We also didn't get any appearance at all of Casey Jones in Secret of the Ooze. We didn't get him come back until Turtles in Time. And you got to think that Elias Coates probably was really disappointed that he didn't come back for the sequel and instead came back for the very lackluster release Turtles in Time. That being said, Casey Jones in the first film certainly makes one great appearance, popping down from the rooftop to dispense some purse-snatching pukes, till of course tussling with Raphael. The figures both presented nicely here from NECA Toys. We do get a re-release, granted yes, of Raphael that we had gotten before. But being that, of course, this is the way he looks in the film, I don't see why they would need to change anything on the figure. That includes also his head sculpt. The head sculpt was fine from its initial release. So this Raphael is simply just a re-release with, of course, the trench coat over top of him, the backpack, and the fedora. And it works really well on this figure. You could undress him, but again, if you already have that original Raphael, I don't see why you would want to take the clothes off. But as you saw in this review, it is possible you could do that if you want to. And really, you could even use that jacket for the cartoon Turtles that NECA has also released. As for Casey Jones, the likeness obviously was a bit more of the struggle. I've seen some people take the mask off of this figure. And underneath is a portrait that doesn't quite resemble Elias Coates, the actor that played him. I'm guessing the licensing wasn't available at the time that they released this figure, because if not, we probably would have gotten an alternate head coming included with this Casey Jones. Even though that's not the case, I gotta believe down the road we're probably going to be getting an unmasked version of Casey Jones. And that probably would be the great time to release a Judith Hoag, April O'Neil. Release them as a 2-pack. But let me know down below what you guys think of this set release from NECA Toys. I feel they checked off all the boxes. They included all the accessories that Casey Jones had in the film. And again, I like the touch of including a Raphael. I mean, I think Casey Jones could have easily been released on his own, but if they had the opportunity to release Raphael with him, why not do him as a 2-pack? I don't think as many people would get on board a trench coat wearing Raphael as a standalone figure, so for me it makes more sense to release them as a 2-pack. But let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of this release. Certainly would like to thank the folks over at NECA Toys for taking the time and sending this sample my way. I know with the current state right now, this set is really hard to find in stores, but I would again stress this point. Wait it out. NECA Toys will be continuing to release this. They obviously see there's a demand for this set. They're going to continue to produce these. Don't go to the likes of eBay. Don't go the likes of paying scalpers prices only to find this set later on the store shelves. Just wait it out. That's the best advice I would give you. If you are new to this channel and liking the content that you're seeing, and maybe even you're new to this channel from this review, welcome aboard. Consider the idea of hitting that subscribe button down below. Consider also hitting the bell notification so that when new videos are coming onto this channel, you'll be in the know. And just an FYI, new videos come to this channel Monday to Friday at 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're also going to be having a look at some other upcoming NECA reviews, so keep your peepers peeled for that. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.